When one is sitting alone in the confines of one's bedroom, surrounded by the dark ensuing absence of light, one begins to transcend the fabric of reality into an ulterior state of consciousness, and one begins to drift and dream and speculate about abysmal trivial concepts, such as Goth Ihop, goth, more specifically goth women, food, more specifically American-esque diner-ish food, I guess. Now, what in theory would transpire if we were to mesh these two unlikely forces together is a concept closely and, dare I say, eerily reminiscent of Goth Ihop. The concept of Goth Ihop is an enticing kerfuffle to say the least, due to it being an anomaly that is said to be a goth-themed IHOP with charming, dark, brooding ambience exuding from the very foundation from whence it stands. However, the thing that human specimens seem to find the most alluring is the goth women residing inside the building, supposedly ready to take the orders of clients with disdain, grief, and sorrowful decadence. One would think this to be distasteful. However, as I proved in another one of my videos, goth girls tend to take the fancy of many people for their mystery and dark, charming beauty. Unfortunately, this place of wonder and whimsy doesn't exist. But imagine if the scenery did. It would no doubt trigger an array of occurrences, and through persistent analysis of this fabled place of sustenance I have devised, and through knowledge derived, formed a fair assumption and educated guess of the outcome of if there were a Goth Ihop. Firstly, the original IHOP would be in dire circumstances and would likely be distraught, as well as likely every other American eating establishment, except maybe Denny's and Outback and Arby's, but we'll get to those. This would likely have people fly, drive, and engage in all forms of transportation just to have a morsel, a mere crumb of the dark wonders. Easily, anyone can make an educated guess that due to this place of zealous wonder, the serotonin levels of these patrons will rise, leading to increased levels of happiness when at the mercy of the Sisters of Darkness. Who wouldn't feel elated to be served by these women? But more importantly, who wouldn't be thrilled to consume and scarf down heaps of this dark, brooding concoction with cleverly worded names that, despite yourself not being goth and not having a single glimmering hope of understanding what any of these references are referencing, you eagerly await your meal to fall at the table like a tragic tale of sorrow. Food like Bauhaus breakfast, Banshee shredded eggs and sausage, decayed pancakes from the UK, the cure to all aches and pains coffee, cramped toast and joy-divided burgers, and milkshakes that even an alien sex fiend would go crazy for. Yum yum. Truly enthralling and, dare I say, captivating. No doubt this would bring a new reign of food to the table that would serve as a tumultuous stepping stone for other arbitrary humorous concoctions. Preferably, this would allow a genuine interest into the actual goth subculture and allow people to see beyond the veil of superficial binds. In other words, hopefully this would allow people to see beyond the aesthetic into the actual subculture the aesthetics are inspired by. However, one could argue that this would be determined if such a place was commonplace. You see, this alone would serve as an experiment of sorts, and boy do I love experiments. You see, this would allow for confound data to be harvested, because with Goth IHOP being an integral part of eating out, it would eventually become normal, and the luster would lose its charm. Unless the person is genuinely still interested in the goth atmosphere, then allowing only the sincerest of goth indulgers to stay. Goths could also, to some level, lose its correlation to not safe for work activities, as the accessibility of goth atmosphere and goth-related paraphernalia are easily accessible, thus causing the mystery of goths, and in turn their appeal of goths, particularly to those that are only fond of the aesthetic, would be deterred. All in all though, I would still enjoy a hot steaming plate of brooding delight, while hearing the goths in the next booth over, arguing over very goth-like things, like poetry and hairspray, the different shades of black, Victorian-era clothing, and the works of Edgar Allan Poe, and many other charming things in general. I personally can't help but think of how lovely that would be. All in all though, I see it as an absolute win. Wonderful, splendid, absolutely fantastical. Sadly, just like your Oshi or waifu or best girl, this whole concept will only remain fictitious. Of course, the only way for it to potentially be real is if it was in a pocket dimension or in some other multiverse or universe where, despite Goth Ihop not existing in this universe, it exists in another universe, and the reason why is because the universe is ever expanding. Things existing within the universe are made through the following of an order, almost like a deck of cards, and eventually the universe will run out of different orders to make and will start to repeat, thus leading to similar universes with some notable differences that can vary from very minimal to extreme. And in one of those universes, it is very likely that a Goth IHOP could could potentially exist. All a pocket dimension is at the end of the day is a world within a world, or a dimension within a dimension. Either of these things is capable of holding a Goth Ihop inside them. If you really wanted to visit a Goth Ihop no matter what stood in your way, all you would have to do is some cross-dimensional traveling until you eventually found it. So in theory, Goth Ihop does technically exist, it just doesn't exist within our reality at this current point in time. And with that, if you guys like this video, theoretically, if you have watched this far, then you do enjoy my videos, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, share this with everybody, your high school teacher and wife, and I'll be back to answer another question that I'm inside just can answer.